I'm Mark Caro, and welcome to episode 73 of Caropop. Our guest this week is Debbi Peterson, drummer and singer for the Bangles. To me, the Bangles represent a strange sort of success story. They released one of my favorite albums of 1984 and the 1980s in general, All Over the Place. The self-titled EP that preceded it is awesome too. In his book, Music, What Happened, the late Scott Miller of the bands Game Theory and the Loud Family called the EP's kickoff track, The Real World, one of the decade's best songs. He wrote of the Bangles, those who know only Eternal Flame might be amazed at how inventive and together they were in their relative infancy. Growing up in Los Angeles, Debbi Peterson initially wanted to be a bassist or guitarist, but when her older sister, singer-songwriter-guitarist Vicki, needed a drummer for her new band, Debbi picked up the sticks. Classified ads connected the Petersons with another singer-songwriter-guitarist, Susanna Hoffs, plus bassist Annette Zielinskis. The four of them formed the Bangles, who became the Bangles when it turned out that there was another band with that shorter name. Boasting an affinity for 60s-inspired 3-minute rocking pop songs, the Bangles became part of LA's Paisley underground scene, which included such bands as the Dream Syndicate, the 3 O'Clock, and Rain Parade. The Bangles released their first single, Getting Out of Hand, in 1981, and the EP The Bangles followed the next year. Debbi had her first lead vocal and songwriting credit on the EP with I'm in Line. Zielinskis left and was replaced by bassist Michael Steele, formerly of the Runaways. When the Bangles set out to record their debut album for Columbia Records, the label paired them with producer David Kahne. Debbi Peterson has some not great memories of that experience. Still, she sings lead on one of the album's 2 singles, Going Down to Liverpool, written by Kimberly Rue of Katrina and the Waves. There's a story behind how Leonard Nimoy wound up in the video. Debbi also sings a cover of the Merry-Go-Round's 60s pop nugget, Live, and the rest of the album features tough, taut, tuneful guitar songs from Vicki Peterson and Susanna Hoffs, including Tell Me, Restless, and the lead single, Hero Takes a Fall. It's a great album that you should own, but it wasn't a big seller. So when the Bangles were reunited with producer Kahne to make the follow-up, the pressure for hits increased. The resultant album, 1986's Different Light, actually is all over the place. There are more punchy guitar songs, notably In a Different Light, as well as showcases for the quartet's intricate, sublime harmonies, like Let It Go. Yet those weren't the singles. Instead, the songs that made the Bangles famous have a different sound, and most weren't written by them. The keyboard-heavy Manic Monday came as a gift from Prince. If She Knew What She Wants was a synthy cover of a Jules Shear song. Liam Sternberg's quirky Walk Like an Egyptian became the biggest hit of them all. On that one, Debbi Peterson was the odd Bangle out, as Kahne awarded the 3 verses vocals to each of her bandmates. What's more, the producer opted for a drum machine over Debbi's drumming on that song and others. How did Debbi Peterson feel when Walk Like an Egyptian became the country's #1 song for 4 weeks? Susanna Hoffs sang on all 4 of the album's singles, including the heavily produced Walking Down Your Street, as Kahne and the label pushed her as the frontwoman of what had previously been a relatively democratic band. As a result, the Bangles became known for something other than their strong songwriting and tight group singing and playing. Does Debbi Peterson think the band would have been treated differently if they weren't all women? A hit cover of Simon & Garfunkel's Hazy Shade of Winter preceded the recording of the Bangles' 3rd album, 1988's Everything, produced by David Sigerson. Peterson preferred this experience, but by then each member was writing songs with outside collaborators and taking turns appearing on each other's work. Debbi Peterson sang the album's 3rd single, Be With You, which she co-wrote. That came after 2 more hits highlighting Hoffs, the peppy In Your Room and the massive power ballad, Eternal Flame. What did Debbi Peterson think when she first heard that #1 single? That phase of the Bangles soon ended in an office meeting filled with managers, lawyers, and musicians, 2 of whom wanted to embark on solo careers. Years later, the 4 of them patched things up and recorded a song for Austin Powers' The Spy Who Shagged Me, which was directed by Hoff's husband, Jay Roach. A new album, Doll Revolution, followed in 2003 and was produced by Brad Wood. Another album, this time without Steele, came in 2011 and was called Sweetheart of the Sun. Matthew Sweet co-produced. Their most recent recordings appeared on the 2018 album 3x4 in which the Bangles, the Dream Syndicate, the 3 O'Clock, and Rain Parade covered each other's songs. Does Debbie Peterson think the Bangles will ever perform or record together again? Does she look back on the band's history as a triumphant tale or something more bittersweet? She tells us in this candid, enlightening Caropop conversation. And the most recent thing you did was that 3x4 record where you guys were covering the 3 O'Clock and the Dream Syndicate and the Rain Parade.
Yeah, that was fun because it was, I don't know, we were all just sort of emailing each other, like a million emails, just saying, let's do something. It's been a while. It's time to get the Paisley Underground back together. And, even though we've all worked with different bands at different times since the Paisley Underground. So it was kind of like just this, hey guys, why don't we just do a record and then we can do some shows together? Which is pretty much what we did.
And that came out in 2019.
Yeah.
So was that the last time you guys played together?
Well, yeah, 2019 was pretty much the last time. It wasn't that particular thing, but we did a festival in May. I think it was May 2019. It was the Kaboo Festival. And that's pretty much the last time because after that COVID kicked in.
Right.
And then, since then, everybody's been doing different things.
And when you started out, I'd seen that you originally wanted to be a bassist or a guitar player, but your sister's band needed a drummer.
Pretty much. I mean, I guess I was kind of an air drummer for a while, just listening to Beatle records and kind of air drumming, not realizing that's what I was doing. But yeah, I wanted to be a bass player or guitar player, especially bass player, because I think the bass and drums work so well together that it was like my ears just kind of went towards bass and drums. And my brother was a drummer, so he was kind of like the drummer of the family, like the kid that gets the pots and pans out and starts bashing them in the kitchen and making a lot of noise, and the parents going, "Oy vey." So he was the one who did that, not me. But because I was kind of air drumming, I kind of could just figure out by listening how to actually do it. And I didn't ever do it until we had some friends that were in a band, and we were hanging out with them and went to the rehearsal. And this was when they were looking for a drummer. They'd had a female drummer before in their high school band, which was kind of cool. But she didn't work out. So they were looking for somebody. And in fact, Amanda, who was the bass player in that band, suggested me. It's like, Vicky's little sister. Let's get her to try. And so we went to a friend's rehearsal studio, and I sat down. They said, "Okay, why don't you guys play?" And I was like, "Okay, I'll try." And I had a crush on the drummer at the time of that other band. So I sat down at the drum set, not knowing what I was doing. And he got behind me, kind of put his arms around me, and kind of grabbed my arms. "Okay, you do it like this." And meanwhile, I'm beaming, going, "This is great. I like this." And so then we ended up playing, I think it was Linda Ronstadt's version of Heatwave. So, and I guess I did good enough that they wanted me in the band right away. So
now, had you learned guitar and bass at that point, or were you sort of just aspirational in those other instruments?
I was aspirational. It wasn't until later, at that time, no, it was all just kind of in my head. That's what I wanted to do. But I did kind of pick up Vicky's guitar. We would kind of strum away. I kind of learned when she was playing My Sweet Lord, I kind of learned My Sweet Lord on the guitar, and it was like, bar chords. Wow, this is amazing. It's really hard to do. And of course it sounded like blink, 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 but gotta start somewhere. As far as bass, I think I used to pick up Amanda's bass and kind of just fiddle on it. Because I kind of really wanted to be a bass player, but then I thought, nah, it's not realistic. So the drums appeared to me, and there I was.
When you were growing up, did you and Vicki used to sing together?
Yes, all the time, actually, because we were good Catholic girls, went to mass, and we'd be at the pew singing along with the choir, and we'd actually come up with harmonies to what they were singing, just by a natural thing, I guess. Same with the radio. Our parents would like to drive a lot. We'd drive around and do some family trips. Radio was always on. It was on in the car. It was on in the house. And I just remember sitting in the back of the car, and Vicki and I singing together. And automatically go to one part or the other part together. And so we'd be like not fighting physically, but no, wait, you sing that part. No, I'm going to sing this part. No, wait, I want to sing this part. So it became this like competition, who's going to sing which part, because we could both hear the different harmonies.
Sisters add like an extra, element to that because your voices are distinct from each other, but there's also something about when you hear them together, they just sound really cool. And the fact that you both kind of hit those harmonies as opposed to just wanting to sing the same parts or in unison makes it, this sort of richer thing that kind of became a trademark of the group.
Yeah, it kind of does a funny organic thing when sisters or brothers sing together, because you have that tone anyway, so you can definitely match it. In fact, many times when Vicki and I are doing recordings for other bands or even for the Bangles, we'd get together and sing the same part and then do another take singing the higher part together, and it does this amazing thing where it does like a phasing effect, which is kind of interesting. And so we've done that many times. In fact, on many Bangle records, we were very much into the whole vocalizing arrangement thing. We wanted it to be more than just singing harmony. We wanted it to be actually like a musical piece, like instrumentation. So that was always a fun challenge to okay, what are we going to do on this song? Okay, let's say, okay, you sing that part, I'll sing that part, and then we'll switch parts. And then I'll sing the high part, you sing the low part. And so I guess having my sibling there to sing along with, it really did help give it a special sound.
Were you listening to a lot of pop rock with harmonies? Whether it was, people tend to throw out, Mamas and the Papas, and they talk about like LA groups with harmonies, but even the Beatles, there are a lot of harmonies in there, and you guys obviously were Beatle fans. So did you and Vicki listen to the same records, and did you kind of sing along with those and kind of internalize those, like the harmonies of like certain groups?
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I said, there was music playing, it seemed like 24/7 in the house. And our older sister Pam was the firstborn, the older one, and she had money. She had like an allowance, so she got to go and buy records, and so she would be playing music all the time. And of course, it was the Beatles. It was then there's singer-songwriters, there's Cat Stevens, there's Mamas and Papas, as you say. Just in so many folk rock groups we listened to, and I think a lot of stuff got internalized by just constantly hearing different musical styles and different records, and it just gets in your blood. Joni Mitchell, there's a lot of different outside influences. There's like Suzanne, I love Joni Mitchell, and Patti Smith, and all of us were definitely open to different sounds, different styles.
Had you and Vicki started writing songs before you ended up connecting with Susanna through the ad in the newspaper and the crisscross stuff that was going on there?
Actually, Vicki was more the songwriter. Actually, she started. I think she started writing when she was like 6 or 7 or something like that. She was always playing around with her guitar and coming up with ideas. She was, funnily enough, very, very much influenced by the Cowsills. That's another one I should tell you about as far as a vocal thing. Yeah, they were very much a part of our childhood, because she loved the Cowsills, and of course she ended up marrying one of them. Go figure.
I was going to say there's a full circle thing there with the Continental Drifters and then her marriage, and yeah.
Yep.
I talked to Peter Holsapple in an earlier one, so
did you? I love Peter.
Adding to the whole, Cowsills connection.
Yeah, that's cool. Pretty much, she was a writer. I didn't start writing till later, and that was after Sue got involved. I could do music, and that's where I mainly write is music. But as far as lyrics, I was always a bit, how do I do this? Vicki's a good editor. She can edit what you want to say in a very short space, whereas I always had a hard time with editing.
Did you have sort of a big sister, little sister thing going on even in the band, or did it sort of equalize once you were in a band together?
It was there. It was always there. I think it equalized like later on. It was one of those things. You just kind of, when you grow up together, you kind of act a certain way around each other, or that's right. How you're used to dealing with things. So, that lasted a long time. And then I just remember a time I guess it was probably the early to mid 80s. I finally just said to Vicki, leave me alone. Let me just do what I want to do, because she's, bless her heart, I love her to death. And but she was very protective of me and the mother hen thing. And then finally I was just like, I need to do my thing too. And she's totally respectful about that. And it's been great. We work together really well.
When Susanna Hoffs joined the group and you guys became the Bangs, later to become the Bangles, did you think at the time, oh, we're going to be like this big band? Or was it sort of, this is a fun thing to do for now and we'll just see?
Oh, no, we were like, we're going to be the toppermost of the poppermost. We're going to be huge. We're going to be on AM radio. We're going to be on TV. Oh, yeah, we definitely set our sights pretty high. We were not going to be like, oh, let's just do this for a year or two and then go off and have a boyfriend and blah, blah, blah. No, we were serious, very narrow-minded. We were going to do this for sure.
Were you like, we're in the Paisley Underground, it's part of our posse? Or was that sort of something that sort of in retrospect, people kind of, put on that group?
Actually, that was just something that was just kind of this crazy thing that just came together. It was just a bunch of friends getting together and it became a scene, but it wasn't something that was calculated. I think it was Michael Quercio from 3 O'Clock was the one who actually named it the Paisley Underground. I think that came from him. But it was just like, oh, let's go see the last play. Let's go see Rain Parade. Let's go see the Long Riders. They're playing at the Whiskey or they're playing at the Roxy. And then we'd go and see them. And then they'd come see us when we were playing at whatever club it was. And it became this thing like, okay, let's play together. Yeah, let's make this a thing. We did, I guess in the end, we did kind of start making it, let's make it like a cool vibe, like the Sunset Strip was in the 60s, right. Where everybody, it's so cool. Everybody's hanging together, hanging out. Let's play, I'll open for you, you open for me, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, we did want to make it like a vibe thing, but it wasn't like super calculated. I think it just organically became that.
Were the bands competitive with each other?
Not really. I'm sure it was probably there, just naturally, because that's what happens when somebody starts getting a little more popular. People are like, why aren't we at that level? But overall, I think the vibe was really supportive. So everybody pretty much supported each other.
Because the Dream Syndicate was kind of first out of the gate, right? I think that The Days of Wine and Roses was cited the first of those albums to come out and get some.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. They were great. I remember going and seeing them. Just the guitar was. It was just like, oh my God, it's the Velvet Underground reincarnated. These guys are amazing. It had such a amazing vibe to it, and we loved it. It was the song. I love Days of Wine and Roses. One of my favorite records.
So yeah, I talked to Steve Wynn too, and I did toward the end of the interview, and I felt like I could ask him this since he'd actually covered the song. But I said, so what'd you do to inspire "Hero Takes a Fall"? And he was like, well, I was a little more arrogant back then, and because he's super nice, but.
Seriously, the nicest guy. I know. When Vicki and Sue said that, I remember, we wrote this song about Steve Wynn. I'm like, no, can't be. But yeah, I suppose he had it's kind of an attitude thing. It was just part of when you're growing up. You kind of, when you're younger, you can tend to have a vibe, like an attitude. And I guess he was kind of channeling that, back then.
I love the fact that years later they covered it and you guys are singing background vocals on it. So all's good in the world.
Yeah. Oh no, it's all good. It's all good.
So what was it like when you recorded that first EP? You had The Real World and, you were singing I'm in Line and, it's a really cool EP. Was that kind of hearing yourself coming out of the studio sort of a transformative thing for you all?
Yeah, actually the first single we did was Getting Out of Hand and Call on Me was the first single we did. And that was very much a do-it-yourself project. We recorded that. In fact, I played bass on Getting Out of Hand, which is like my one and only recording, I think, on bass. That was fun because it was, okay, we're going to do this. We're going to get this. So we had a whole plan. We're going to get this single out there and hopefully get Rodney Bingenheimer to play it, which he did. Thank God. And just start getting a vibe going, getting out there and playing shows and try to actually start getting some sort of attention. And I think during the EP was, it's like, okay, well, this is the next step during the EP. And we figured out the songs. In fact, apart from How's the Air Up There, we all wrote some songs. I wrote on I'm in Line, which was my first attempt at writing a song. And so, I think it was a good thing because it was very much like the next step for us. And it was just an EP, so it wasn't an album. And it was, unfortunately, was on Faulty Products, which was not a very good label. Miles.
Yeah, go figure with a name like Faulty Products that it wouldn't come.
That's what was so funny is that I thought, well, the name it was perfect because the name really represented what happened. I mean, overall, I think I like the EP. I like the vibe of it. I like the fact that we were so together as a unit when we recorded that, and everybody was very much into the sound, how sonically we wanted it to be, and very much in agreement with the songs and it was just such a great vibe.
Did it feel like kind of a democracy with you, like where everyone, all of you would sort of contribute songs and sing and sort of take turns with everything? I
think at that time, yes, it was enjoyable because it was more of a democracy. And even though Vicki and Sue were more of the songwriters, and Sue did a bit more singing on it, we all were like a unified group going in a certain direction together. And it was great. And Annette was with us on that, and that was great. She still didn't, as a bass player, she was not quite sure what she was doing. She was learning, but she was picking it up real fast. And that had a really cool vibe to it. It was very garagey, Sandy.
Right. At what point did she leave and Michael come in?
Pretty much soon after that, she just kind of decided she wanted to go in a different musical direction. And we were like, okay, that's cool. That's what you want to do. We want you to be happy with what you're doing, because there's no point in doing this if people are unhappy. And then so it took us a little while to find a bass player, and then Michael came along, and that was great.
How did you get connected with her?
Through, no, you're testing my memory here. Actually, I think she was like there in the scene as well. She was in different bands that we knew about her. Actually, Vicki had met her through a mutual friend of ours, because Vicki was staying with a friend of ours, Joanna Dean, and she was known as Spock. And so it was the Spock Hotel, where a lot of people were coming and going. There was parties all the time, and all different musician friends would come and sleep on the couch or whatever. So Vicki was there at the time, and I think Michael came in at one point, was hanging out a lot, and they started talking. And pretty much Vicki said, "We're looking for a bass player. Are you available?" And she came. We had a couple auditions. She was one of the people that we auditioned, and it was just like, oh my God, she's amazing. This is great.
Had you guys been fans of the Runaways?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, kind of. I mean, I think Vicki more than me, maybe, but yeah, we knew of the Runaways. We thought we like the Runaways. Yeah.
So when she joined the band, had you guys already gotten your major label deal?
I think we were in the process, of getting it, or we had gotten it pretty much right before she got in the band.
Did the label hook you guys up with David Kahne, or how did that happen?
I think it was the label. Now I think back, it was the label who suggested him as a producer. And David Kahne had done some other bands. I know he worked for Translator and with Rank and File. And Vicki knew Rank and File. She had their record. And so she was like, "Oh, I love these guys. They sound really cool. Well, let's try it. Let's try David Kahne. See how it is. Let's go with them." So I was like, "Okay, sure." I mean, I like that record too. It was a good record. But then working with them was a different story, of course. But yeah, I think it initially came from CBS, Sony, whatever.
You guys wrote most of those songs, and then you had a couple very cool covers, which I'm assuming you guys would have chosen, like the Merry-Go-Rounds, Live, and Going Down to Liverpool. They don't sound like songs that would be imposed on you by the label, but I'm just guessing.
Live definitely came from us, because I remember that's one of like the early songs I learned on guitar, and that was one of my favorite songs from the '60s. I loved the way he sang. I loved the song. So it was one of those things that I love the song. It was so easy to play guitar, and you could just go anywhere. It just came out, and it was great. It's just such a. It reminded me of all the good things of the '60s, the good feelings of the '60s.
You actually introduced me to Emmett Rhodes with that. I'd never heard Emmett Rhodes until that song. And I was
really?
like, what is this? I'm like, what is this song? This is cool. And then I realized what it was. It's the same thing with How's the Air Up There, what is that, Fleur de Lis or something? Like I discovered that through you guys too. So I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah, that was actually, because there were a lot of cool friends of ours, had cassettes of really, like nugget stuff, things that were floating around that they found through other people, because obviously it's before YouTube and you can get any version of any song anywhere now. But at the time, it's through friends. And I think one of our friends suggested or gave us a tape with How's the Air Up There, and we're like, wow, what a great song. It's like the Stones, but even better, And so I think going down to Liverpool was more of a suggestion from the label, just because it was Kimberly Rue, and he, I guess, was probably maybe shopping some songs around. But I remember thinking, what an incredibly cool song. And so I was very much excited about doing a cover of that song.
And then you guys did a video of that with Leonard Nimoy as your chauffeur.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Well, that was actually through Susanna's mom, Tamar, who was a director in her own right, and she, of course, right. I think the Nimoys were family friends, and so it was one of those things where I guess Sue knew his son Adam pretty well, so it was a suggestion like, what about getting Leonard Nimoy in as a chauffeur, because it was kind of a confused video actually. So that idea floated around. Of course, I'm like a huge Star Trek fan. I'm like, yes, please, and so it was great to work with him, because he was such a professional. He was very much got into his part, and did the eyebrow thing and the whole, it was so much fun. But the problem was, while we were making that video, Miles Copeland, our illustrious manager, comes in and says, "No, girls, you have to be serious. This is about being on the dole in Liverpool. This is about being unemployed. You have to be serious." So it's like, how are we supposed to act when we're supposed to be like pop stars being driven around by Leonard Nimoy, but now we have to look like we're depressed pop stars who are unemployed? What? Yes, it was very confusing.
For that album in general, like, how much did you feel like you were able to do what you wanted to do, and how much pressure did you feel from the producer or the label to kind of conform to whatever they wanted?
That's a good question. It was starting to get, at that point, after doing the EP, it was starting to feel more pressure, because we were with the major label, and so suddenly it was like, okay, this is serious. We have to, sound really good. We have to be really professional. But it started, the working with David Kahne was rather difficult. He was, I guess, maybe he had pressure himself from the record company, like to deliver something successful. And it put a lot of pressure on us, as far as I know. I remember going down to Liverpool and singing it many, many, many times. And I kept thinking, this got to be the take. And he would like triple track me, quadruple track me, and just trying to do the hey now thing, the little crack thing, which is hard to do at any time, but having to do it over and over again, it left me in tears. He would just be like sitting back in the control booth or whatever, control room, pressing the button saying, do it again. I mean, no, he didn't give us any kind of feedback like, hey, why don't you try this, and this. It was just do it again. So it was kind of a negative experience. And it wasn't just me. Vicki had a problem with it too. It was just so different than what we'd experienced recording before, that right. It was suddenly we were taken aback, like, oh my God, what's going on here? Is this what it's like being on a major label? All this stress? And I think that got even more enhanced on the album after that, on Different Light.
So on All Over the Place, were the arrangements still pretty much the way you wanted them to be?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, David Kahne did add some interesting keyboard parts and had some ideas that were good. But I think because of the time period between the EP and the first record, we had all that time. We were on tours, many tours. So we were playing a lot of the songs live. And that's kind of how we figured out how the songs were going to be for the recording.
You guys just sound like a great band on it. It sounds like a band record. And I think you guys covered Love 7 and 7 Is when I saw you play live too, which I thought was cool.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. I love doing that song. I mean, it's tough. It's not easy, but I love it. It's great. It's so much fun.
That's a drummer song.
It's funny.
For you.
It's a drummer song. Mm-hmm. It's funny you mentioned More Than Meets the Eye, because that was an example of Vicki fighting with David Kahne, because he was like, no, we'll just do it on keyboards, just like a synth sound. She's like, no, it has to be a quartet. It has to be actual, strings. And so there was a couple of moments of confrontation, that's for sure. But I thank God Vicki stuck to her guns on that, because it's such a beautiful arrangement. I appreciate you saying that the album is very much like a band album, and the short songs and kind of a Revolver-esque kind of vibe, which I think is great, because the guitar parts are really cool. There's some real ingenious guitar stuff going on, and I think David Kahne helped with some of those ideas too, which made it sound cool. I wish the drums had sounded better, but oh well.
Were you getting feedback at that time also on like how you presented yourself, like what you dressed as and stuff like that? Like the Hero Takes a Fall video, you guys are just like kind of, it's very sort of casual and it's not like the sort of glammed out thing at all. And, later maybe there was more of that, but I'm wondering sort of how much feedback and pressure you were getting on sort of the image part of it at the same time as the musical part.
We were getting a lot. I think I felt like at Hero Takes a Fall, we were kind of dressed in these clothes. It's like, oh, here, we're going to have this person dress you. And it wasn't like we were wearing our sort of crazy 60s things at that time for that video. We had definitely had CBS/Sony coming in and having their designers, whatever, their people that did costume designers to do it. Because I remember there's the shot of me playing the drums when we were in downtown LA, and I'm wearing this hat, and I'm like, why am I wearing this hat? This is like, that is not something I would normally do,
That's funny.
So yeah, we were definitely starting, and had the gloves, the little Madonna gloves and stuff, and it was definitely starting to happen. We were not feeling ourselves. We were feeling like somebody's trying to put us together, kind of thing.
Interesting. I thought it was more likely that maybe you guys came up with that because it was kind of like you sort of had fun in a thrift store or something like that. It wasn't like, oh my God, look how glamorous we are. It was just kind of quirky, which I liked. And maybe they thought, well, now you guys aren't quirky anymore. But
well, I suppose there was probably elements of quirk in there from us, because I think Michael had a long shirt sweater thing on, and I think we had pieces that came from us. But somebody was putting it together, which we weren't used to. We were just used to doing our own stuff,
right.
Putting our own clothes together. So it's kind of like, what's going on here? And that, that kind of progressed too. But we ended up saying, okay, wait a minute. No, we want to wear what we want to wear. And we just started wearing different clothes and trying different styles. And it was the 80s, which it's amazing how you can get away with that kind of thing, I don't know, now you probably can, but like in the 90s, that wasn't a thing at all. In the knots, it was, the wacky look. People were going back to the 80s because they loved the fact that at the 80s, big hair, wacky clothes,
right.
Things that didn't go together.
Yeah. And it's funny because All Over the Place is 84, and there's such a timestamp, 1984 sound to so much that was coming out. It's like you guys, like, REM Reckoning was that year. Like those are albums that just kind of sound like they sort of exist in any time, as opposed to, whatever Flock of Seagulls was happening at that time, or even, even like what Elvis Costello was doing that year, where he suddenly went synthy and DM7s and all this stuff and all these drum machines that people were using. So you were sort of immune from that, at least at first. And then, but it's the 80s just had such a distinct sonic and stylistic imprint on bands that wasn't happening like in the 90s or 2000s as much.
Yeah. Definitely. And it's funny you mentioned the drum machine thing, because that wasn't apparent so much all over the place, but definitely Different Light. It suddenly was like, okay, you have to play with a drum machine. Okay, the drum machine's going to replace your kick drum. And it was like, and for me, that was like, no, don't, I don't want to be replaced. It was like the AI thing. I don't want to be replaced. Like, I'm a human being. I want to be recorded as such and not have, I appreciate it now, but at the time it was a constant struggle.
When you went in to make Different Light, first of all, were you given the choice to work with David Kahne again, or was it sort of like, okay, you guys are working with him again?
No, it was, you guys going to work with him again. I didn't want to work with him. But yeah, it was like, okay, look, this is it. This is your sophomore record. This is the big push. You're going to have a number one song. You're going to, this is the big deal. If you guys really are serious about this, you got to work with this guy again. He's really good, blah, blah, blah. And I think at that time he became part of the A&R department. So
right,
my memory, my recollection. So that was another thing, was okay, oh God, we got to work with him again. Oh, nightmare.
So did you feel like this is sort of obvious, I guess, but you guys felt like you were having more imposed upon you on this record than the previous one?
I personally felt that, yes. Even though we're still all writing songs, I felt like that Sony was pushing songwriters on us more. Like, okay, here, this is a song written by so-and-so. Here's a song by so-and-so. There's some, again, we would pick and choose and say, okay, if we need to do this cover, I really like this Jewel Share song. So, we would pick the ones that sounded like less an obvious thing that's not one of our songs. You know what I mean? More of our style. Even Manic Monday, Prince gave us a cassette of his band playing the song. It's like, oh, well, why don't you just sing over it? And we were like, no, we want to totally re-record it, all tracks. So, which we did.
Did he write that for the Bangles, or did he sort of have that, having done, one of those Prince things that was there, and he said, you know what, this would be a good Bangles song?
I don't know the real story behind that, but I do know he came to see us before or during the All Over the Place time at the Palace in Hollywood. I remember it was like this big thing, like, oh, there's somebody really special is going to come is backstage to meet you. And I'm thinking, who? Like Paul McCartney, like who? There's all these names in my head. And I remember walking, to the, I guess it was like the balcony or somewhere, and he was there, and I was thinking, wow, he's really short. But no, I was like, it was stunning to meet him. It was just like the most amazing thing. But I think he was kind of at that time was checking out other bands, and he kind of liked the psychedelic thing we were that was part of our sound. He liked that kind of that part of us. So I think Manic Monday, either it's something he had and thought it would be a good fit for us, or he may have written it for us to do. I'm not really sure about that part, but it was quite a compliment for him to say, hey, I think you guys should do this song. But I thought it was funny. It was like, yeah, sure, we'd love to do that song, but we're going to re-record it.
Yeah, I guess that does fit in with that timeline, because he had Purple Rain in '84, and then he had Around the World in a Day, which was his like kind of psychedelic thing with Raspberry Beret and Pop Life. Exactly. And this sounds like something that could have been on that as well.
I think that's what I think. I think he already had it. I think it's part of all like the style he was working on with all those other songs. And I think he just thought, oh, well, I'm going to pitch it to the Bangles because I think it would work for them.
So were you all like unambivalently like, oh, this song is so cool and it's Prince, this is going to be great for us?
I think it was like, yeah, this song is great and great for us. I don't know. That was one of those things where we were kind of concerned because we knew that would get all the attention, right, because it was Prince, so we were a little unsure about that because we didn't want any attention taken away from the other songs on the record. And we didn't want to be seen, which unfortunately we were, as not writing our own songs, because we do write our own songs. And right. I felt like that kind of took attention away from the band's material.
Right. Because the first 3 singles were songs you guys didn't write that. And then If You Knew What You Want, and then Walk Like an Egyptian. And then you had your cover of Big Star's September Girls, which was
September Girls. Yeah, so. That was not a single. Yeah, but great song, of course.
Right. Yeah. No. So yeah,
But
Walk Down Your Street was the original that became the single. That was sort of later also.
Yeah. Yeah, that was later. I think that's kind of a consistent thing from the beginning, where we, as we discussed, we just like to record other people's songs, but like cool underground, songs you've never heard before or not that familiar with, and kind of make it our own, which we kind of did from day one, really. So it wasn't just like, oh, they started doing that in different light. We were doing that for ages, but we just felt like having the Prince song there was like, oh, the big single of Manic Monday. And suddenly I just felt like, wait, but we're losing the band feel. We're losing that camaraderie, that all for one and one for all kind of thing. And I was worried that things were going to start going in a different direction.
There is this sort of split between the songs that seem produced as like singles with synths on them, like If She Knew What She Wants, and then you're kind of, you're more stripped down, rocking out
the
songs.
Stuff, I know.
Did you feel that as you were making it, there was like, okay, here's the ones that we're able to do the way we normally do it, and here are the ones where they're paying a little more attention because they're trying to turn these into singles?
Yeah, definitely. I felt like it was starting to splinter a little bit because of that. It was like, oh, Sony was like, okay, this song's perfect. This is the single. Let's remix it like 3 times. And meanwhile, these other songs was like Different Light and Let It Go, which I wish that had been a single, because to me that was such a band song. It was the 4 of us wrote it, the 4 of us sang on it. And I know you can't do every song with like choir harmonies and vocal parts, but to me it was like this embodies what the Bangles are. This is what we really are. In my head, that's what we really were. And we all wrote together, we sang together, and it's like the Partridge Family. No, I'm kidding. It's very much, a group effort. And I was very upset at that time because I remember thinking, why aren't there more songs like this? Why is this not getting attention? Why is it Manic Monday or if She Knew or Walking Down Your Street, which still didn't feel quite bangly to me. Why not Different Light? Why didn't that get more attention? And it was frustrating because I felt, and I know Vicki did too, that things were kind of starting to splinter a bit. Yeah,
like Walking Down Your Street, the drums on that sound like I don't know whether they're just miking you differently or whether there's actually a drum machine on there, but the sound on the drums of that compared to In a Different Light right before it's just like, it's just 2 different production approaches.
It really does sound completely different because it was enhanced by a drum machine, and I didn't like that. To me, that just sounded so stiff and non-human. And I mean, I was playing along to it, but it was a drum machine enhancement. Whereas like Different Light or Let It Go was me. And so that was frustrating, having other people coming in or machines coming in. And so suddenly I felt like, we're not a band anymore. We're like, becoming just like a personality or visual thing and not necessarily a group and doing our own music. And I was worried about that happening.
Did you all sort of feel that way, or was it kind of split? And was that part of the problem in that, maybe more attention was being put on Susanna Hoffs? And so it's the sort of thing that she's not necessarily asking for it, but it creates tension because you're like, wait, we were this democracy. And now all of a sudden we're being treated like there's a front person, which there isn't.
Yep, definitely. I definitely felt that way. I know Vicki and I were both like, what's going on? Or this is very different than the initial band that we had started, it did cause some friction having Susanna become the lead singer and the focal point of the band, because wasn't our intention at all. We tried to, as much as we could, try to stop it, but it was once it started rolling, it was hard to stop.
Were there a lot of outside musicians brought in for that album too?
Oh, just a couple people came in, and guitar player, drummer, just a couple, I mean, to be honest, I know in a couple songs, or at least one song, I couldn't play the drum part that well, but then I'm not a session musician, and actually that song, in fact, it was Not Like You, was a song that I pictured it being completely different than it ended up on the record. And it became this song that David Kahne sort of got involved in. And it lost all meaning to me. And then having the drummer come in was like a double whammy.
Yeah, I noticed he took a songwriting credit on that, and I think walking down your street, and I was thinking, oh, it's sort of unusual for the producer to be taking songwriting credits, but what do I know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it was one of those things that I wanted to work with the girls, and I felt like, well, if I don't go along with this, the song won't end up on the record. Now I wish I'd stuck to my guns and said, look, I don't want you involved, and it wouldn't have been on the record. And I could have made it sound much better later on, but at the time, it was like, God, this is your big shot. This is your like last chance to really be successful. We have to give up a few things in order to make sure it happens, because this is your time to get on the radio, to be successful. And of course, it doesn't always go the way you want it to go, but it got us out there.
Well, the EP and All Over the Place, you sound like this very confident band. And this experience on Different Light, did that undermine your confidence?
Big time. Yeah. I had a hard time coming back after that, making that record. It was my confidence was like very small. I didn't feel like I was a good drummer anymore. And as far as the singing, David Kahne said quite a few very rude things about my voice. So yeah,
I love your voice. He's wrong.
Thank you.
I'm not in charge of these things. I'm not doing A&R for Columbia, but
I wish you were.
I always look forward to the stuff you sang. So I look forward to all of it. Everyone, all four of you have great voices. Even the Beatles had Ringo, who's like charming, but you're all better than Ringo.
Oh, poor Ringo.
No, I love Ringo, but there's a reason there are 3-part harmonies in the Beatles, and you guys had 4-part harmonies.
I know. I just felt, but there was just so much bullshit going on, and with the record company, too many chefs in the kitchen, too many people trying to come and manipulate the sound and the image, and it was sad because I could really see it happening, and I was so frustrated. Like, why is this happening to us? And you just feel like, okay, this is what we have to do in order to get successful. And I don't know if that's because we were all women. That's the other.
Well, that was my next question. I was going to come back with. I was going to say that it's like, again, one of these things that seems like it's kind of obvious, but do you think they would have been doing this to you if you weren't a female band?
That's what I wonder. It's like, I feel like, God, if we were all guys. Well, first of all, I would have been like, well, fuck you. Well, I'm not going to do that. But, because we were, all girls, it was definitely, at that time, it's so different now. Well, not so different, but it's definitely different now. But at that time, it's such a male-dominated industry that trying to do anything as a female musician or even a female band was very difficult. And we had to kind of work our way into doing things, even though that meant giving up a few things just to get the success. It was tough. We had a hard time with the whole gender thing, unfortunately.
So were they telling you at that point, this is what you need to look like, when this is how you need to dress and all that sort of thing?
Well, there were elements of that, but we would still fight against it. But yeah, there were elements of okay, wear this, you got to wear this, you got to look like this, you got to put your hair, puff up your hair, got to look. We had a lot of people trying to direct us to look a certain way, but we would constantly fight against it. It was a constant battle. It was very much like, okay, let's try to make you into this sexy female thing. And which the whole time was, we're not, we're not into that. We don't want to be like sex symbols, although I think Susanna might have slightly got into that. But yeah, it was frustrating, but you're right about the questions. It was torturous having to do all that press at the time, because it was those kind of questions like, who slept with Prince? Like with everything, the album, everything. Oh, Susanna sang the whole record in the nude. And it's like, nobody's talking about the music. They're talking about something they heard or something sexual. And it used to really frustrate me, because it's like, come on, we're more than just 4 girls, getting all dolled up for an album cover or whatever. We're musicians, we're songwriters, we're singers. And so the whole time it was a constant battle trying to show that, hey, we're more than just being sexy.
So your producer on everything was
David Sigerson. David.
Did you guys know him, or was that also something where the label came and said, all right, we got a new one for you?
No, this was, I think, through mutual friends. We heard about him, and I had a great time working with David. He was really good. He was a lot more positive. He was a lot more, okay, do what you want to do, play what you want to play. He was a good producer. That kind of helped get through the next record because of all the damage that was done. He's great, and I think he opened up a little bit more ideas. We were able to express more ideas and express ourselves more on everything.
What was your feeling going into that record? I mean, did you all think, oh, okay, we just had this big success and now we're going to build on it? Or were you sort of tight at this point, like, we feel kind of bruised by the last experience?
Kind of bruised, but looking forward to working with a new producer, and we'd all written more songs. But unfortunately, what I loved about everything was it sounded better. It had a better recording vibe, but it was also getting a bit more singular, like, okay, this is Michael's song, this is Sue's song, this is my song, this is Vicki's song. And Vicki and I tried to write a couple songs together, and I think Vicki and Sue did, and then we were writing with outside writers more, and it sort of suddenly became more like the White Album kind of thing. It was more, okay, this person's song and that person's song, and it suddenly lost that band element.
Yeah, how did all those outside writers come in? Was that each of you just thinking, oh, I'd like to collaborate with others, or was that the label saying, hey, why don't you go work with Lona Navarro or this other person?
No, that's hanging with friends and writing with other people. I think that's what that was. It was basically, as you say, just trying to branch out a little and write with other people and work with other musicians, and just trying to expand our horizons,
Right. Well, I was thinking also about how, all over the place, there's this energy in this, which is don't mess with us, you crappy guys. There are a lot of sort of embittered, don't be a jerk songs. And everything is more kind of like the first two singles on this, in your room, I'm going to show you how to be a boy, and Eternal Flame. It's much more it's a happier vibe. And I'm wondering if that was something that was sort of conscious, or just those were just the songs, or whether that was intentional, okay, we're going to be sort of this more romantic band.
I think it was just whatever was coming out at the time. I don't think it was intentional. I think, we were all having romantic experiences and being on the road and stuff. And I think this just something that happens when you get older, And I mean, I wrote "Be With You" with Walker Eigelhart, who was our keyboard player, and that was actually a single. And that, again, it's very much a romantic song. I think we were all just going through different romantic experiences at that time, and that's probably why it came out like that.
So you were actually in a happier place, so that's good.
Definitely in a happier place, as far as certain elements, but there was still conflict within the band. And unfortunately, it was kind of that was it for the Bangles, because there was too much focus on Susanna and being a certain way. And we were even though we were trying to fight that constantly, it just wasn't enough.
What did you think of the song Eternal Flame when you first heard it?
I thought it was a beautiful song, but I also had this feeling in my stomach, oh God, it's Sue's song. This is really going to put the dagger in the band concept. It's suddenly this, it's a beautiful ballad. It's gorgeous. It's well written. And it's, she did a great job in the vocal, but it felt kind of like the nail in the coffin, really, as far as the Bangles go.
Did you think at the time, just in general, when songs came out, whether it was Eternal Flame or Walk Like an Egyptian, did you think, oh my God, that's going to be a huge smash? Or was it more like, what?
Walk Like an Egyptian was, for me personally, not a great experience. I kind of didn't want it to be a successful thing, because that was a David Kahne thing where he basically auditioned us all as vocalists doing a verse. And I lost the audition. So, and then plus it was a drum machine, even though I helped program the drum part. It was just like, God, I'm not singing on it. I'm not playing on it. I didn't write it. What the hell? You know, it was like, I felt so distant from that song. So I didn't really care if it was number one. Eternal Flame, I knew it was going to be a biggie. I just had this feeling that, you know, this is classic, you know, romantic ballad. It's going to be huge.
It's the big ballad. People will have their eternal flames in the audience with their lighters. And
yeah, everybody at the time had their lighters. Now they have their phones. You know, people got married to that song. You know, it's, oh, I remember that. Oh, that's when I first fell in love.
It's an undeniable song. Be With You is a
Getting
single.
too old. Yeah, that was the third single.
You sang that one.
Yeah, I sang that one. I wrote that one, sang that one. But it was on the heels of Eternal Flame, so that helped it a lot. And unfortunately, it kind of got buried because we had new management who I wish we never had these people, but they were very much, oh yeah, okay, we got Sue now, so let's kill the Bangles. You know, pretty much, you know, wanted her, and there was this whole thing where we had our last meeting with at the management's house, and basically what they did is split Michael and Susanna in one way and Vicki and I in the other. And Vicki and I were basically told the band's breaking up because they want to pursue other things. It was crazy.
So there was no like sort of big incident or blow up that precipitated the Bangles breaking up, right?
No, this was something that was in the works for a while. I mean, going on tour, it was just like, you know, I'm surprised we didn't all have ulcers. You know, it wasn't like we would shout at each other and yell or like punch each other out or anything. The Bangles did things in a different way. It was more manipulation and quiet anger and you know, just kept it all inside. So I think it was ready to explode anyway. It just took a while.
You guys just had a meeting, or you were called into a meeting, and it's like, okay, this band is dissolved or something like that.
Yeah, pretty much, because we were supposed to do a tour. Vicki and I thought we were going to just go to this meeting, discuss doing a tour in Australia, which we'd never been, and we had this tour planned, and the tickets were all selling out, and yada yada yada, and then the management were like, oh no, you're not selling in Australia, so we're canceling that tour. And then Sue and Mickey were expressing themselves like, we're really unhappy with the band, with the way things are, and I want to go do more singing. And it's like, well, are you already doing a lot of singing? It was a strange situation because we felt very much like Vicki and I were very much told that the band was over. No discussion within the band. It was strange.
Yeah, and it was a meeting with managers and lawyers as opposed to the four of you just having to talk. Exactly.
We never had the band talk of like, okay, let's sit down and discuss what's going on and how we feel. Because, you know, our big thing was, oh, you know, if somebody's not happy in the band, then they shouldn't be doing it anymore. And then like, okay, why didn't we have a discussion as a band first before the managers and the lawyer and whoever got involved? It was crazy.
Did you all have that discussion later? I mean, obviously you gotten back together a few times, and did you have the sort of like the conversation that you should have had earlier where you're like, well, wait, what were you really unhappy about? And, oh, you know, and that sort of thing? Or did you just sort of get back together and like, that's in the past, we're not even going to talk about it?
It was kind of both, actually, because it was like 9 years later, you know, we'd all done our different things and, you know, had kids. And in fact, I remember getting back together with Sue and just talking about, you know, being moms. So that kind of was the start of that. And then she wanted Vicki to get back, you know, she kept calling Vicki, and Vicki's like, I don't want to do this. I can't imagine singing Walk Like an Egyptian anymore, blah, blah, blah. But we ended up all coming back together. And because it'd been like 9 years that we were apart, it was like water under the bridge. And we did discuss things though. We just discussed how we felt at the time. And it kind of really was good because it definitely aired out all those problems. And besides, once you have kids and you have all that perspective, right, it doesn't really matter anymore. It means so little.
So what was it that Susanna and then Michael, what were they unhappy about at the time?
Well, I don't know. I think they were probably manipulated by the management into like, oh, hey, you know, you guys, and this isn't working out with the Peterson sister. I don't know, because I wasn't in their skins. But it seemed to me they were not happy with, they wanted to do their own things, basically. I think Susanna wanted to do more songs that were her songs, without having to share it with 3 other people. And I think the management, from what I recall, it felt like the management had sort of gone to Sue and Mickey or Michael and said, look, I want to I'll get you guys record deals. You're on your own. You get record deals. You get this great record deal for you, blah, blah, blah. And I think Michael she was always a bit of a loner with us. I mean, she kind of would do her own thing anyway. She'd kind of hang out with her, go off on her own and do things. And so I think for her, she was just kind of tired of the whole thing, the bullshit. And,
Yeah, I mean, her playing and singing with you sounded like they really meshed well, but her songwriting always sounded like it was like its own thing. Like I didn't hear her like co-writing songs with you guys, and it seemed like her stuff was very like they kind of were off on their own a little bit.
Yeah, she was very much soloistic when it came to writing. That's the way she liked to do it. She wasn't really a partner writer. She would tend to do stuff on her own more.
Yeah.
And then, which is fine. It was just the way the whole thing was presented to me and Vicki, like basically being told that the band's broken up. That's just what made me go, what in the world? I mean, how did this happen?
How did you deal with that at the time?
Oh man, I spent like at least 3 months to 6 months of just not listening to music. I didn't want to have anything to do with music. It was like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do music anymore. I think I took art classes, and I had to do something different. I just couldn't deal with it. It was heartbreaking.
At what point did you pick up your drumsticks again?
Probably, I'm trying to think. It was 89, 90. I think I got more into playing guitar because I was doing more songwriting on guitar. So I started playing that more. Probably a couple of years later, a few years later, I started drumming again. But it was actually doing a bit more guitar playing.
Did you and Vicki commiserate together during all this time? I mean, I remember seeing her with the Continental Drifters in the early 90s when I would go down to South by Southwest. But Were you two kind of helpful with each other at that time?
I think at that time we kind of took some space from each other too, and just kind of, she went off and did Continental Drifters. I worked with Gina Shock for a little bit, which didn't turn out very well, but I wrote songs with her, did some work with her, and then I got together with Siobhan Marr, who was in a band called River City People in England, and we got together and came up with Kindred Spirit, and so that was a good project to have to get me out of the ex-Bangle world, right, and into something new and working with different people. And but that's about like 92, 93, Vicki and I started talking a lot more and sort of talk about each other's projects and stuff. So we reconnected around that time.
Was it difficult to have the 4 of you get back together again eventually? I mean, I think you played sort of like around like 99 or 2000, and Dollar Revolution came out in 2003. Like, what was that process like to sort of get everyone on the same page and get over those feelings?
Well, that was, again, Suzanne and I got together talking again about being parents and moms and having kids and what you deal with. And we started actually writing together a bit. And Vicki, of course, was the most reluctant one. I think Michael was kind of doing her own thing, and we couldn't get a hold of her for a while. I think she was hard to get a hold of. And then eventually Vicki and Suzanne and I got together and we wrote the song Get the Girl for the Austin Powers film. Right. And then I remember we wrote it, and then we were going to record it. And I remember Michael coming into the recording session. It was like so great to see her again. She looked great, and she was in a good mental state. And so we recorded the song, and all the old jokes came out, like the old things you used to say on tour, the silly things. I can't even remember what they were, but I mean, just really dumb things you used to say to each other on tour. It's like they all came out again. And suddenly it was like the ice was broken, and it was like, oh yeah, we're back. And everybody felt really good.
How did you enjoy doing that album? Like, did that feel like a sort of lower pressure thing than, the last ones you were doing for CBS?
Oh yeah, definitely. that it was fun because we rented a house, I think in Beverly Hills somewhere, and it was like a really cool kind of mid-century 60s kind of house. And we made it our own. We put our blankets and Indian print fabrics around, and had the little drum room and the control, because by that time you're like Pro Tools, so it was, the control room went everywhere you went, and it had a swimming pool, and it just made it feel like a family vibe, and it was very comforting to be recording in a house versus the studio pressure with the red light going on. And so that was nice. That was a nice change. And I don't know, it was fun. We worked with Brad Wood, and he was himself a drummer. So that was kind of fun working with him.
Right.
And it was very much, everybody had an idea. It's like, okay, I want to sing the song and I don't want anybody in the room. Okay, that's cool. But everybody would pitch in ideas, and it very much worked as a unit again. So it was great to it came full circle,
Yeah, Brad I knew from Chicago, and obviously he seems like a not a David Kahne like guy who's going to tell you how to play everything.
Not at all. He was a very cool dude, and it was lovely working with him.
Playing out live, did that feel like getting back on the bicycle sort of thing too?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was good. I think having that big break really kind of rejuvenated the Bangles. It was great to get back out there and play.
So, and then you did Sweetheart of the Sun in 2011. And that was just the three of you. This kind of out of that time context, and you were able to sort of just sound what you want to sound like, right?
Yeah, pretty much. It was just kind of, okay, let's do these songs, and we have these songs, and we did some couple of covers, and we worked with Matthew Sweet, who smoked a lot of pot, so it was definitely very much a calming vibe. In fact, I was worried I was playing everything too slow because contact high and all that. But it was at a house. It was at his house, and it was a more relaxed atmosphere. I mean, I must admit I prefer to record at a house, in a house environment, versus a studio, because studios just make me think of 80s and stress,
Right. And so had Matthew and Susanna already done those covers records, or at least the first of those by the time you did that record?
Yeah, I think they might have done two of them by that time. I can't remember, or at least one, and they were working on the second or something. But yeah, they'd already worked on that together. Semi-recently, I flew to Omaha, Nebraska, where he lives, and actually played on some of his songs on one of his later records, which was kind of fun.
Yeah, I've talked to Rick Menk. I've actually seen him at this record store he owns in the Minneapolis area, and so I was like, yeah, you play on a lot of that Matthew Sweet stuff.
Yeah,
too,
that's right. He does too. Mm-hmm.
Was he making a lot of suggestions on arrangements and stuff, or was he more just do what you want to do? He certainly seems in sync with your your aesthetic.
I think that's what it is. He's just more in sync with what we do, and so he didn't really have to suggest things. He might think of like a guitar idea or sing something, and we'd be like, oh yeah, that sounds great, and that would work really well here. But pretty much he let us do our own thing, because as I recall, for Sweetheart we were recording because we didn't have a bass player with us, so when we were doing the live tracking, it was basically Vicki and I doing the tracking, and then sometimes Sue would come and do the rhythm guitar. But it was a different way of recording for me, having just guitar and drums. So that was kind of fun.
So over the years, do you feel like your approach to songwriting or singing have changed, or is it pretty much, you do it the way you do it, and just time has passed in the meantime?
I think I pretty much do it the way I do it. I think musically I've gotten more in tune with different styles and different ways of doing things, which I didn't know. I mean, I don't write all the time, and shame on me. I should do it more often. But I still think musically, I think I've gotten a bit better, but lyrically, I still have a hard time writing lyrics without them sounding really boring. I think that's really hard.
Do you write the music and then try to fit the words to the music?
Yeah, pretty much. Sometimes I'll like write a poem and like a bunch of lines, and sometimes I can think of music to what's existing already on paper. But usually I come up with a riff or a chord idea or a melody or something like that. And then I'll try to fit the words in as best as I can.
And do you write when you don't have a project in front of you?
Sometimes I'll just go for a walk and something will pop into my head, like a melody. I'm like, oh, that's great. I have to remember that. And then I go home and put it on my iPhone, because if I don't do that, it'll be gone in a nanosecond.
So yeah, because it's been like a dozen years since the last. Time flies as you get older, but it's been like a dozen years since the last Bangles record. If you guys got together now, would you say, all right, here are some songs I got ready to go?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I tend to write still kind of in that mode and kind of in the 60s, pop. I'm pretty much a pop queen. I love 60s stuff, and I love the power pop thing. So I'm always writing in that vein more. I'd like to write something a bit more dark and mysterious and depressing, but I haven't been able to do that yet, but I'm working on it.
Do you see you guys getting together and, recording another album or touring again or any of that?
Not at this point, because I think everybody's so involved doing their own things and different projects. I don't know. I mean, it's nothing. There's no closed door this time, like there was in '89 when it was all shut down. But I don't see it happening now. But who knows? It could happen in the future. Who knows?
Would you like to?
I'd always like to. The Bangles have always had a special place in my heart, and I'd like to do it again. I'd love to go play live again with them, but part of me is like, okay, I'm kind of working with different people now, and it's that's nice too.
So the last thing you did, we talked about this at the top of it. You had that 3x4 record. So you had this really awesome cover of Dream Syndicate's "That's What You Always Say," and some other ones on there too. But that's like the last time you guys were in the studio together, right?
Yeah, I guess that was it. That was ages ago now. Oh God, you're right about time flying. Yeah, that was pretty much it. Yeah, that was the last time we recorded something together.
There's all sorts of stuff where I'm like, oh, that was like a year earlier. And then I'm like, wait a minute. No, it was before the pandemic. The pandemic was 3 years ago. So it's at least 3 years ago.
Isn't that crazy? Oh my
so
God.
it's just because you thought at the time it was just going to last like a few months. And now 3 years later, you're like, oh, what happened? So.
Yep. That's how it works. Unfortunately.
Do you go back and listen to any of your work with the Bangles and enjoy it?
Sometimes when I go, I have a shed that I go practice in, and sometimes I go, oh God, I'm going to go play How's the Air up there, just because, and I'll play to the EP or to All Over the Place, and just kind of just to refresh my memory and try to see if I can remember to play those parts. Haven't done 7 and 7 is yet, but that'll come later. I got to build up to that one.
Do you look back? Do you look back on this all as like a good experience?
Good and bad, yeah. It was a good experience overall. It had bad moments, but I think we were very lucky, because it's very hard to be successful. A successful band, it's incredibly difficult. It's like anything in art. It's like, if you can be successful, that's amazing. But yeah, so we were lucky, but we also worked very, very hard to get to where we were. And yeah, overall, I think it was a good experience.
Was there one moment you can look back on and think that was a moment where I was like, I'm happy, we've done it, this is awesome?
There's a couple of those. One in particular, I think, was when we won that Brit Award, and we were in England, and we were the best international band. That was the category, I guess. And it was 86, I want to say. I could be wrong. I don't know. Anyway, it was great. We were in England, and it was like, Kate Bush was there and Eric Clapton. And anyway, we were on stage with all these amazing people that we totally respect. Peter Gabriel was there. It was one of those moments where, like, pinch me. I cannot believe we're on stage with all these amazing people. And we're like kind of on their level. You know what I mean? I felt like we were accepted. And especially being in England, because the press in England tend to really knock you down. So it was kind of like, this is a great moment.
And that's where so much of the music you love came from anyway. So
exactly. So it was kind of like nice. It's a nice appreciation for us.
nice. I really appreciate you talking to me, and letting me nerd out on this stuff with the Bangles. But you've done a lot of great stuff, and I'm sorry anyone said anything negative to you about your singing or your playing, because they're awesome. So now you know for sure. But
well, thank you, Mark.
You're welcome. And it was fun seeing you when you played at Metro for that Hot Stove Cool Music show. So you'll have to come in for some other Chicago thing again.
Yeah, I definitely want to. I'd love to do that again. I had a great time and a great bunch of people, and it was. Yeah, I'm gonna have to do that again. Enjoyable.
Great. Thank you so much.
Bye.
That's it for episode 73 of Caropop. Thanks so much to Debbi Peterson for sharing her perspective of the roller coaster ride that was the Bangles. Go to thebangles.com to learn more about the group and to order music, such as limited edition colored vinyl versions of their last 2 albums, Doll Revolution and Sweetheart of the Sun. There's also merch to be had, as well as DVDs. Caropop is produced by Chris Swake, about whom there's more than meets the eye. I'm Mark Caro. Please follow Caropop on Twitter at Caropopcast, and you can follow me as well at Mark Caro, at MarkCaro. Also visit the Caropop website, caropop.com, where you can find this podcast and enter your email address so you hear about upcoming events and episodes. We promise not to spam you. Please share, subscribe, tell your friends, and tune in again next week for another Caropop conversation. Thanks.